Hey there, and welcome back to Marshall Sports. This is the show where we talk about sports and nothing else. I got it that time. There we go. Once again, joining me, Mr. Jeff Marshall. Jeff, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing so good. It's funny that we're pretending like we haven't been talking for the last 30 minutes, isn't it? But we got to do the intro for the show. It has to be done. It has to be done. Okay, so today is December 2nd, 2019, and the football week has officially ended here on this Monday night. What a crazy week of college football and pro football it was. We're going to go over scores from college football, pro football. We're going to touch on the coaching carousel, and then we're going to talk about whatever else we want. But starting, Jeff, how did your trip to Baton Rouge go this weekend?
I'm still wondering, is LSU still scoring? Um,
Basically.
um,
Oh,
man,
man.
what a wow.
Hey, man,
Uh,
we both took LSU minus 17 and a half. That's all that matters. It's a moral victory for us, not a moral victory for A&M.
I agree.
Because a lot
Uh,
of people will say, oh, for A&M, it's all about the moral victories. They don't actually have to win. This one wasn't even a moral victory. This was a cold, hard defeat that we are going to hear about and remember for a very long time.
yes, I can't tell what's worse: A&M football this Saturday or A&M basketball losing to Fairfield.
And Harvard. But, I mean, Harvard's probably pretty good. Those smart boys are usually pretty good at basketball. Not so much at football, but they're pretty good at basketball. Also, I am extremely happy to see that Joe Burrow is has been honored as a senior because that means he is leaving. Because that dude would light us up year after year after year, and I'm happy that he's gone.
Yes, the stadium sure did love him, especially all those LSU fans in purple and gold.
Oh yeah. So was there any, without the explicits, was there any, mouthing off going towards you and Sterling in the stadium?
There was a little, they definitely, they get you, they call you tiger bait. That's their way of calling you anytime you're a visitor there. They love calling you tiger bait there.
It's such a middle school thing to say. Like it just sounds like something that a 13-year-old would yell at you. Like the dad and the son are watching you and Sterling walk by. He's like, "Hey son, call them tiger bait." Like that kind of deal. It's just trash, man. LSU fans, just trash. They're trash when they come to College Station too. Some things never change.
yeah, but besides that, I think it just seemed like they knew they were going to just, pour it on us.
I
It was
think they do too.
28 nothing after the first quarter. I had Aggie fans leaving in front of me saying, "Hey, we're heading back to the RV just to start to drink our sorrows away."
That- There's no way that any A&M fan drove to Baton Rouge honestly thinking there was any chance to get a victory because we know that fan base and that team, especially Coach O, they marked this day on the calendar 363 days ago, and they knew that this day was coming, and they knew they were going to beat down on us, and that's exactly what happened. So we knew it was coming. Sure, a lot of Aggies knew it was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. The whole country did. So what can you do?
There's nothing you can do.
All right. So on that negative note, let's take a look at some scores here from last week, and let's skip over the one we just talked about, or maybe we'll touch on it just to show you in case you didn't know. Yes, the score was 50-7. It was an absolute beatdown. Basically, by the time A&M put up a touchdown, it was garbage time. LSU rolling as usual. Yeah, we don't have to talk about that one anymore. A game that I thought was going to be exciting and was for the first 10 minutes, but ended up being a blowout, basically. Ohio State and Michigan. Jeff, is this what you expected?
I thought Michigan kind of put up a fight, but man, Ohio State just doing their thing.
Yes, so
Um,
much firepower.
just Ohio State just put Michigan in their place again. It doesn't seem much like a rivalry at all. Man, Ohio State just looks great. It just seems like Ohio State and LSU just seem like a path
Totally. Oh
to
yeah,
play each other.
path of destruction, basically. Because I mean, they're going to destroy everyone in their path, and then it's going to be another slaughter fest. They're going to just destroy each other's defenses. Um, Coach Harbaugh, a lot of rumors. You can win all the games in the world, but if you can't beat Ohio State when you're the coach at Michigan, can you keep your job? He's lost five years in a row now to the Ohio State Buckeyes. I just can't see him losing his job. Do you think he maintains it?
I do think he maintains it. I just don't see how Michigan goes out and gets anybody better. I don't see how they can bring in anyone. It would solve the problem. They're in a really big hole right now.
Yeah.
Ohio State just going to keep on running, and I think they know it. And it's a little very dark there in Michigan.
Yeah, and it sucks too because they always have good teams. They always play well, but they can't win the big games. And at a school like that, you have to win the big games or else the season is a complete failure. I mean, you look at them ranked number 13th team in the country here in December. And I mean, we would love that as Aggies if we got to 13. But to a team like Michigan, where you have to beat Ohio State to be considered successful, it's just not good enough there in our Ann Arbor. Moving on, Clemson, South Carolina. I thought the Gamecocks would come out a little bit more powerful. I thought they would put up somewhat of a fight. I was mistaken there. I know I actually called South Carolina 28 points and a half. Called it towards South Carolina. Didn't work out my way. Pretty much what we expected there, huh?
Definitely. I took definitely took Clemson in the line there. Clemson. They just seem to keep on rolling. It's just they're on their way to the college football playoff. They're going to be playing Virginia. Virginia is their first time, ever getting past, their division.
Oh yeah.
To get to there, and they're just going to be happy to get there. And Clemson's just gonna. It's just a cakewalk.
Yep. They're going to roll. They're going to
to
roll over Virginia. They're probably going to stay at number 3 unless Georgia somehow beats LSU, but we'll see what happens there. Moving on, Georgia Tech. This one in recent years has been a fun one, but of course Georgia Tech in a rebuild mode. They got absolutely stomped. Okay, the Iron Bowl. This one ended up being a thriller as we expected. Auburn takes it in a thriller. And did you see the missed field goal by the Alabama kicker at the end of the game?
I did. I also saw him apologize in a humongous letter on Twitter that I did not think he needed. But there was a lot of things that happened during that game that,
Yeah, I mean, you could have
nothing to
went
do with the field goal.
exactly. I mean, when there's that many points scored in a game, it doesn't come down to a field goal. You know what I mean? Because to put it this way, if that field goal would have been in the first quarter and he would have missed it, then there would be no blame on him whatsoever because everyone totally would have forgotten about it by the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I think it's kind of ridiculous too. It does suck when it comes down to – I always feel really bad for kickers when that happens, more so at the NFL level than the college level. But it was in a super fun game. Bo Nix and co. pulled it off, and Bama's playoff hopes are just about done, huh?
Yes, they are completely done. But you know, I don't think anybody feels sad for him. So
No, not. And isn't this the first time that they haven't been in the playoffs?
yes,
Yeah.
there won't be any rematch this year between Alabama and Clemson.
Oh,
So.
around the world, college football fans are so happy about. I know I'm happy about that. I mean, it just gets old, man. You want to see something new. You see these two powerhouses. It's especially frustrating with Clemson because of their cakewalk every single year. But moving on to a team that was severely impacted by Alabama's loss, Utah rolling over Colorado. Um, they will likely take the 5 spot going into this conference championship game against Oregon. So, well, I mean, I guess it all depends on what happens with LSU and Georgia, because one of them is going to lose. Does that mean Utah, if they beat Oregon, that they're probably going to get in?
This is an interesting one. I mean, many things can happen. I think if LSU runs the table and everything falls into place with Clemson and Ohio State winning, but this can happen. I could see it happen if Oregon comes out to play and that Pac-12 championship and somehow beats Utah. Definitely, I could see Oklahoma, slipping in
Mm-hmm.
to that 4 spot.
Oklahoma, that's right, because, I mean, they're going to move up. How far down do you think Alabama drops? Do they drop down to like 8 or 9, do you think? Because, I mean, Oklahoma's sitting at 7.
I think they fall back down to 9. I think they fall back to 9. They'll end up in I do not think they end up in one of the Power 6 bowls.
Really?
Yeah,
At 10 and 2?
I don't think they do. I think actually with Auburn's win, I think they will take that spot. I think that was a big win for Auburn. I think that puts them in there. I think this will be the first time you don't see Alabama in there.
That's crazy. I mean, Auburn, they've had a good year, but of course this isn't a year where they've made a playoff run. So you think that Auburn could sneak into the top 10 with a 9-3 record?
I do. I think that was a humongous win. I think definitely with, already got Florida. You got Georgia in there. I think you already have the SC team solidified in there. I don't think they'll put a third one in there.
Yep. So moving on, we talked about Oklahoma. Moving on to Wisconsin at Minnesota, man. The boat has been sunk officially.
Yes, it has. This was definitely one that I, took. I saw, Wisconsin was definitely a -3,
Yeah. I was wrong. I'll admit I was wrong about this one. I trusted PJ Fleck. I think I was still riding the high from that, Penn State game where everyone was just on the boat, rowing it with them. I took the bait, unfortunately, like a lot of people do. And you were a little bit more level-headed.
Yeah, I just, Jonathan Taylor and them, they definitely took it to him. And
Totally.
And PJ Fleck and them, they've had a good season, and they've definitely, done better than a lot of people thought. But let's definitely give them credit.
So, here's what I'm wondering. Wisconsin is going to play Ohio State. Does Minnesota have a chance of going to the Rose Bowl as the rep from the Big Ten?
That's a good question.
Or is it the loser of the – or you see what I'm saying? I'm kind of confused about this one. What's going to happen?
I think with Wisconsin beating Minnesota, I think, they would jump Minnesota.
Right, but then they lose to Ohio State because that's inevitable. And then they
I think definitely Wisconsin. Being in the Big Ten championship, I think that has big upside
yeah.
on them being in that game. So I could definitely see Wisconsin taking that spot over Minnesota.
Yeah, I think unless Wisconsin loses like 77-0, then I think their spot in the Rose Bowl or like a Power Six Bowl, New Year's Six Bowl is pretty secure.
Agreed.
Yeah, so Baylor taking care of business against Kansas. I thought Kansas for some reason would put up a little bit of a fight. I mean, this is pathetic, but you know, Mr. Mr. Les Miles trying to rebuild that program. It's going to take a few years. Baylor, though, they're going to play in a New Year's Six Bowl. Um, no, I take that back. They still have to beat Oklahoma, but if they lose to Oklahoma, are they still in a New Year's Six?
I think so. I think this is one of those things that yet again that if Utah, loses to
Yeah,
Oregon
got to watch out for Utah.
and Oklahoma slips in, Baylor, will slip into that Power Six, and this one will be interesting. But I
Totally.
do think in the end, I think win or lose, I think Baylor is going to be in that one of the Power Six bowls.
For sure. For sure. Uh, Moving on, Florida absolutely dominated Florida State as usual. Seems to be the trend the last few years until Florida State gets rebuilt. Oregon, I know Oregon State has been somewhat amped up a little bit this year. Of course, they didn't go like 2-10 as they've been the last few years. Oregon didn't look necessarily too good against Oregon State, but nonetheless, they got the dub. Did you watch the beginning of Stanford Notre Dame?
I didn't get the chance to. Definitely,
Stanford
didn't get the LSU game.
Stanford jumped out to an early lead, and it looked like they were going to pull off the upset, and then they just ran out of gas as most Stanford teams do, and Notre Dame just ended up stomping them. Yes, that's pretty much it for the previous college football week. Let's take a look at some of these conference championships, even though we already touched on most of them. Friday night, a big one with a lot of stuff going on around it. Utah, Oregon. Jeff, who you got? You kept talking
Uh,
about Oregon. It kind of seems like you're set on them winning.
as much as I like, I'm going to talk about Oregon. I still like Utah. I think Utah's been rolling. I think Utah takes this. I think the committee loves Utah. I think Utah finally gets the recognition it deserves and gets the number 4 spot.
Ooh, okay. So since you just said that, I'm jumping down to LSU, Georgia in the SEC championship game. Of course, LSU at 2, Georgia at 4. So you're saying LSU takes down Georgia in the championship game, and that allows Utah to jump.
Yes.
Okay, interesting, interesting. And so with that happening, you also have the Big 12 championship game, Oklahoma at 7, Baylor at 9. Who do you think takes that one?
I got Oklahoma.
And
Generally,
where do they end up though?
I think they end up at number 5.
Ooh. Oh man, they're not going to be happy at Oklahoma once they end up at number 5. But I mean, that's what you get for losing to K-State. What do you expect?
This is true.
But a lot of people would say the same thing about Georgia losing to South Carolina. But I
Yeah.
mean,
The South Carolina loss is still don't understand. That's probably the most confusing loss
yeah,
out of the whole season in Division One.
no, for sure. I mean, that was definitely a shocker, and it's shocking to me that the committee has him as number 4, even after that. But yeah. Well, let's see. Moving on, of course, Clemson is going to slap Virginia, and Ohio State is going to slap Wisconsin. The conference championships this year aren't too exciting. I feel like in years past they've been a little bit more uh, exciting, but this year I don't know. I'm just not too excited about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's they're definitely not too close of games. The ones that you think that could be up in the air. Um, yeah, Saturday is just it's Saturday's not for the boys. Is the
It's for the men, for the men of LSU and Ohio State. Yeah,
hey, that's
so
very true.
we will definitely touch base again, probably on Thursday or Friday to go over game lines, and we'll make our picks and post them in a video. But for now, we're going to jump to another page. We're going to take a look at the coaching carousel, which we are right in the middle of right now. Of course, towards the end of the season, we see a bunch of coaches get fired, a bunch of rumors going on. So kind of just wanted to touch base on those real quick. Um, the one that happened the quickest and the soonest, Chad Morris, 4-18 over the last 2 seasons at Arkansas. I didn't understand this hire from the start, and it seemed like sort of a dead deal from the start. But he didn't win one SEC game. Ultimately, you can't do that and expect to stay, especially at a program like Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas,
So
uh,
bad, so bad.
so bad. I mean,
Some of those losses this year.
so I mean, I just man, it's so confusing. I mean, I
There's really not much
it,
to say. Like it's like how do you explain what happened? It's not like they've had horrible recruiting classes. I mean, they've been able to bring in talent. It just when Saturday rolls around, there's nothing going on. There's nothing going on there at that school.
yeah, words are just hard to describe. I
Yeah,
mean, it's hard to do it there.
totally. And of course, the one that happened, a while ago, Willie Taggart, another 2-season buyer, 9-12. I mean, to sum it up, that's just unacceptable at a school like Florida State. I mean, what was that streak? Like 38 years in a row of going to a bowl game in his first season as a coach with loads of talent left from the Jimbo Fisher era. He couldn't do anything. Another one of those that it just felt like a bad deal from the start.
Yes, but I mean, it doesn't matter what happened because it was Jimbo's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Yes, always. It's always Jimbo's fault.
it's always Jimbo's fault.
Dude, it'll be
Um,
2024 and it'll still be Jimbo's fault at
it's
FSU.
true. Yes, I agree. This hire was definitely just a scare tactic. They were scared. They were, they didn't know what to do, so they made a quick hire. Um, and man, Willie Taggart, man, when
Wait,
they
Taggart, hashtag Taggart time.
that buyout of $20 million,
Gosh, dude, what a
20
thief.
million.
What a thief. More of a thief
Oh,
than Kevin Sumlin and David Shaw combined. I mean, that dude did it right. Get you an
yeah.
agent like Willie Taggart because that's how you make some money. That's how it is in college football, though. You have a little bit of success, even if you're not responsible for the players that are there. You right place at the right time, you're going to walk away with millions from this game. It's really insane to watch. But the rumor is that James Franklin, Matt Campbell, or Brian Kelly might take over at FSU.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's definitely tradition of winning there, so they'll spend the money.
For sure, for sure. This one's funny to me because I always thought Matt Luke was just like a lifetime assistant coach who happened to become a head coach because of that scandal that happened a few years ago. I forgot the coach's name already. It's been that long.
Mm-hmm.
But he had the scandal. Ultimately, Matt Luke couldn't get it done. Ole Miss has been irrelevant for the last 3 years. Did you saw the game against Mississippi State, right, where the Ole Miss player was acting like peeing like a dog and
I
basically
did.
lost them the game.
I did.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I just something no words can describe.
How stupid.
How stupid can you be?
He thought he
I
was
don't.
Odell.
I don't. I just even today's game with all the dances and celebrations. I don't understand why we can't just score a touchdown and hand the ball to the ref.
Oh, it's amazing too. Like, it'd be one thing if you're winning by 28 points and it's the last 2 minutes of the game. No, you need this extra point to just get it to overtime, and he decides to push the extra point back to the 25-yard line, ultimately loses it for the game. And I love it too, because he's on the sideline after he got the 15-yard penalty, not like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's got like a UFC belt around his shoulder, like walking like this. It's just like, dude, like, it's not cool. You lost the game for him, but of course he doesn't care. I'm sure he cares now. He's probably made a big apology. But I heard that Matt Luke, when he was fired, when it was announced to the team, that like 11 players got up and walked out. So they loved that dude apparently, but he's just not a head coach material in my opinion.
This is true. No, I agree.
For sure. Barry Odom, Missouri, another team that's just like mediocre and has been mediocre since that 2013 season that they went to the SEC championship game. Really nothing much to say about them. I mean, they're probably going to replace Odom with some other mediocre guy, and they'll just continue being Missouri, right?
Probably the most confusing team in the SEC.
Yeah.
Definitely besides Arkansas.
Yeah, like 1 week they'll put up 50, and then the next week they put up a goose egg. It's just weird. One thing I saw, Greg Schiano headed back to Rutgers. Remember, he was there when they like had an uprising for a while. I want to say that was like the Ray Rice era when Schiano was in charge there of the Scarlet Knights. So maybe he'll be able to bring them back to some kind of prominence, but who knows?
Yeah, some kind of something like that. Because right now they're in the dumps.
Yeah. Schiano is the guy who wasn't there a possibility of him going to Tennessee, and he had ties to the Sandusky Penn State days, and Tennessee like rioted against him. Isn't that the coach?
Yeah, that was
I
him.
mean, what a stupid mistake, because I think he's a good coach, and I don't know if it ever came out that there was concrete evidence of him ever knowing about the Sandusky scandal, but ultimately, I mean, you lost him, and now he's headed somewhere else. So, Charlie Strong, man, what a forgotten household name at this point.
Yeah, he's there's not much to say about him. He made his money.
Oh yeah, he made his money. I feel like if he would have joined Texas like right now rather than then, he would have walked off with like double the money, just because the amount of money that's flying around right now in college football is insane. Oh, I was shocked about this one. Chris Peterson stepping down from Washington. I know they had a down year, or not up to like their standard of, being in playoff contention every year, but just stepped down and is going to become a analyst, at least for the time being. I wasn't expecting this one.
Yeah, maybe there must be something. Maybe I don't know.
Something brewing. Like, he's talking to USC. Another thing, I think where is I think Clay Helton was on here. No, Clay Helton isn't on this specific article, but Clay Helton hasn't been fired yet.
Yeah.
That was the talk all year, that this was his last year. I know he's done okay with a third-string quarterback, but, I mean, they've been calling for that dude's head for the last 2 years now. How is he going to survive here?
That's a good question. If I knew the answer, I think I'd be doing pretty good myself. So
Yeah, Urban Meyer. I hope he ends up at USC because I really don't want him to somehow end up at Texas.
you know,
He might.
I
You
don't
never know.
know. He might. Seems like a lot of players are leaving Texas right now. So
And that
you
would
don't know.
be, oh man, if Urban Meyer ended up at Texas, that would ruin everything. That would ruin Jimbo's tenure. That would, I mean, I'm just being a Debbie Downer, but that would be really bad if Urban Meyer came to Texas. So, see what happens there. Um, you know what? We're not going to talk NFL football. We're out of time. What we will do is we'll be back on Thursday, and we will go over game lines for the conference championship games, give you some predictions, and hopefully win some of you guys some money if you're watching.
I like it.
Sound good?
Yeah, we'll make you some money. Just make sure that you got to listen to just my picks.
Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, we haven't been keeping track of our records, but I definitely think that since we started picking live on video, I think you've been pretty solid. I think you've only missed a couple. So definitely listen to Jeff and don't listen to me because I get, stupid for some reason.
If you want to stay in the plus, stay with me.
Yep. Yep. And the less you bet, the less you lose. So
This is true.
yeah, I have a tendency to try to, diversify my bets, and it tends to backfire on me for some reason.
This is true.
So I need to take my own advice and bet less. But yeah, we'll be back on Thursday. We will post our predictions for the conference championships. Thank you for watching Marshall Sports. Of course, this is the show where we talk about sports, and we don't like to talk about anything else. If you like what you saw today, please like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Follow us on Instagram, Marshall Sports _ at the end. And we will see you guys on Thursday with another video.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Toodles.